Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another inspiring episode of BizTalks Unplugged, candid conversations on business, presented by INR The Insight Room, a student-led initiative where we open the floor to unrestricted, unscripted dialogues for curious business minds. Today, we have the privilege to join with us Mr. Sudip Ghosh, Commercial Unit and Head at Syngenta India, Pune, in a career that has grown alongside India's evolving agri ecosystem. Mr. Ghosh brings a rare blend of strategy, P&L leadership, market building, and on-ground farmer understanding. From leading large business at Syngenta, including his earlier role as business head to field crops, to shaping growth journeys across the global agri and seed leaders like DuPont, Pioneer, Monsanto, and Corteva, his work reflects what it means to build businesses that are both commercially sharp and deeply connected to the real world impact. What makes his story even more compelling is the human layer he carries into his leadership. A marathoner and a professional coach, he stands at a powerful intersection of performance and purpose, where leadership is not just about targets, but also about clarity, communication, and inner strength. His learnings journey include executive development like leadership communication with impact, INSEAD executive education adds depth to how he thinks, speaks, and leads. In his own words and values, kindness, creativity, connections, and humor, you can sense a leader who believes businesses is ultimately a people's game. Recently, he also shared the joy of engaging forums like Vamnicom's Executive Edge series, discussing themes such as creativity and problem solving, a reminder that the best leaders keep learning and keep giving back. Welcome, sir. It's an absolute honor to have you with us today. The floor is all yours.
Thank you so much for a very, I would say, heroic introduction. I don't know that I deserve so much. Thank you, anyways.
So, sir, as we begin, uh, we have already gone with the flow of the session. So, we begin with the early life and foundation segment of ours, and we like to believe that the that every guest who comes on our podcast is the his present form is a is a mix of complex emotions and complex journey he or she had in their previous years, and like the water droplets combine together to form a bigger water body in a pot, which becomes of use to others. We would very much love to know, sir, what was your earlier life like? Like where did you grow up, and what did your childhood teach you about work, people, and ambition? What was your family structure was like, and what were your like strongest influences? So we were to proceed on that based upon your convenience, sir.
Thank you. That's a great question. And I believe that most of us in our career or in future life have a very strong influence of our upbringing. And it comprises of two things. One is the direct experiences that we have while growing up, like our family, our parents, some of the learnings that we apply to ourselves, and the indirect ones that we hear, listen, see, we might not have done ourselves. So I grew up in a small town in Jharkhand. Earlier, it was part of Bihar, in a place called Dhanbad, more famous for an accident which had happened in a coal belt. There was a movie also, Kala Patthar, creator of that. And means were just hand to mouth. My father was an electrician. He could not complete his studies because his father, which is my grandfather, died when he was 2 years old. My mom also had to do work. She was a health inspector, like the ones who give vaccines door to door, polios and others, because both of them wanted to make sure that me and my sister, younger to me, had a decent living. So that taught us a lot of things around life per se. And one thing I still carry is to be happy, you don't have to have enough. Because most of us do not know what is enough. And I remember even so many incidences like the sharing part of it in our life. It came from there. Since we had a dearth of resources, infrastructure, even food sometimes, we were very happy to share and care for each other. And that was my first learning, that sharing, and it translated to some of my values, which we'll talk about later. Then around gratitude, be grateful with what you have rather than crib on what you don't have. Because again, as I said, there is no end to having enough. So gratitude was very important to us. And we were like a community. We helped even the neighbors helped us, and that way we created superpower for each other. Third thing, like my dad was, although he was in a very junior post, but he never compromised on ethics and principles of life, and discipline was one of them, which I believe I learned from him. Because discipline probably is the most boring thing in the world. We have to do it day in and day out, repetitively. But believe me, in the end, and that is what creates the winning game in the long run. And the fourth thing that I learned was around kindness. So I still remember when my mom was retiring due to ill health, probably a couple of years before. So she got 50,000 rupees as her full and final settlement. And my father donated that money to one of our relatives who need a surgery. While my mother was furious, but my dad did what probably he could have done right at that time. So these small acts of kindness create a hope in some of the people where they probably have lost hope. And that is something I still believe, that wherever possible, help others. And sometimes it is not about money. It's about your time. It could be about your listening or just tapping a shoulder at the back. So yeah, these were some of the learnings I had. And then, of course, I was good at sports. And that probably brought about a lot of values that I still carry, like leadership lessons. Most of it I learned from sports. So I used to play soccer, cricket in my early days, and that used to be team sport, and that helps in my leadership lessons even today.
Well, it seems like struggles are each steps of the way, which takes us on a journey. And so, within your family, as you have said, sir, that you've seen a lot of struggles in the early lives, you and your parents, and so forth. So we all find that we are sort of individuals as human beings. We may say that we don't need anyone in our lives, but the inherent, quality of human being is that we have the desire to connect with others. As such, within our early lives, when we see people around us, doing a lot of struggle, within that we also come with to a sort of analysis page, and thereby, try to find the admiring qualities in them. And as such, we choose that one person who becomes the idea of our life, that we need to do this for them, or we need to build our lives like them. So what were your strongest influences from people around you? And we can be family, teachers, mentor, or any rival, maybe at student in your school, or maybe some colleague. And what kind of influences you took from it?
Again, a great question. For me, to start with, of course, my mom and dad. My mom, because she chose to start working, which was not needed probably, to support my dad and my sister and me. And she had a 365-day job, because she used to also come back from office and cook every day with smiles and provide us with whatever we had. So some of the traits that I have inherited is from her, namely kindness, compassion, empathy, love, care. While my dad made sure that he worked probably 12 to 18 hours a day and being very diligent at his job without taking any shortcuts. So the traits like discipline, ethics, integrity, and again, helping people is something that I learned from them. And when I was growing up, of course, you meet a lot of people. And then there was a tutor who used to teach me mathematics. And he was someone I developed a lot of interest in maths. And he passed away about 10 years back. But the base was created so strong that after that, I didn't need a teacher, even in my plus two, where all of my friends were resorting to coaching and other means. And I cracked even the toughest of integral calculus and trigonometry without any help. So it gives me a reflection that the idea of loving a subject is not our own choice. It is probably the influence of the teacher who makes us love a subject. We say maths is boring. It is not the subject, it could be the teacher or vice versa. So he was another person who gave me a lot of insights, which I still carry about data, about smelling things without even going to the depth of what we call big data. So that's something I value. And again, friends, of course, in my college, especially in BHU, I had lovely memories of a lot of friends who I am still connected to. And I make sure that I meet them at least once in a couple of years to maintain that connection. Yeah, these are some of my influences, you can say, which shaped my upbringing and learning and career.
Thank you, sir. It was very wonderful. And on that, sir, we have seen that you, before you did your MBA from Rasan University, you did the endeavor of studying agriculture as the previous degree. So we would love to know that what was that shift, what was that point that brought you into agriculture, where you had this realization that I want to build markets and not just, build or grow crops. So how did that, point take into effect, and what, and how was your life journey pointing towards the BHU, and how was your BHU life in general?
So I always tell my friends that Banaras is my second home. So I spent 7 years there, 4 years in agriculture, 2 years in MBA, and a year was wasted because there was a cyanide. One of my close friends passed away due to a wrong treatment in a medical college. So a year was lost. So Banaras is a place which did not happen by chance. Of course, we had learned a lot because this was very close to my town, which is Dhanbad. And when I was preparing for engineering, actually, I didn't have any guidance or anybody telling me that these are the available courses that you should do. Only thing I need to know was that I have to earn to make sure my father and mother do not work anymore. That was the only ambition. So I applied everywhere. It is engineering or agriculture. And finally, I got a seat in Banaras, BHU Agriculture. And those 4 years were very good. Although biology was not my preferred mode of learning, but there were so many things which drew me close to the nature. Agriculture is now still contributing about 16 to 17% of our GDP, but at that point of time, it was the sheer association with nature. At the same time, we had a beautiful experience honing my skills in Banaras. I had a very busy day. I used to wake up early morning, and at that time, I didn't have a great knowledge about computer, and I still remember there was an advertisement, one of the institutes named Lakhotia Computer Center. I don't know whether they exist now. It was somewhere in Sigra, I believe. So they had put an advertisement that anybody who gets first rank will have 75% waiver in terms of the fee, and the person who will stand second will have 50%, and so on and so forth. The top three will get something. And since money was always a challenge, I took it a bet that let me appear for it. I don't know. And then all the guys from IIT and all the institutes, of course, and outside of Banaras appeared. And I stood second in that. So I still remember I got 50% fee waived. So I had to pay only about 20,000, I believe. And that was something which was probably of my age at that time. It was a necessity because in school we didn't have. So morning I used to go to computer classes and come back and go to my faculty. In the afternoon, I used to play sports, cricket or football, as the case may be. And evening, I used to go for tuition. So I created some money for myself. And there, it happened to be that the boy who was taking tuition from me, his mother was suffering from cancer. So it did not go well with me. So I took half the money because I was teaching both the sister and the brother. And after tuition, I used to go and learn guitar. So I also performed in BHU in a lot of music festivals, the Hawaiian guitar. So classical music is something that I learned. So Banaras was full of musical, spiritual, a lot of experiences that I still cherish. And the journey continued. I never realized when it ended. But after completing agriculture, I saw an opportunity that MBA is something that might give me more width and scope in terms of my career. Because most of my friends were in agriculture, were aspiring for either banks or some of those courses, which was not very fascinating to me at that point of time. I don't know why. And then it always seemed that getting a career in corporate world might be something that I would flourish at. And that's how MBA happened. And the 2 years I spent again, a lot of sport, a lot of events. I remember the first logo which was drawn it is not there anymore, in the entrance was done by me. And there was a function, I think. Some of the corporate people were supposed to come, and the teachers came that we need to design something. So I and one of my friend stayed the whole night and made a drawing. That is not there anymore. So I have fond memories, and then spending time with my friends in the cafe and the sports field is something which is very dear to me. So yes, Banaras, I always call my second home, and I visit there alternate year, still every second year.
So, as you said in your conversation, you spend your time in the cafe. So, in BHU, what's your favorite cafe? Limdi, VT, or it's Madhuban? Or something we don't know?
So agriculture, 4 years, I was largely in the VT side. But after I came to MBA, it was more Madhuban. And it was more spending time with the friends. That time, it was a small group. So yeah, both VT and Madhuban, I can't select one because of different time periods.
So over the years, you have witnessed a lot of change in both the Banaras, the Varanasi, Kashi, Anandwani, whichever name we may refer to the city, and the university in particular. Have you found this change to be progressive? Have you found this change to be too developmental on the development side, and sort of leaving behind the traditions, the culture, and like what were your sort of insights based on the change that has happened?
See, change is the only constant, so development will happen. So, of course, the population has gone up. Infrastructure is getting better. Still, the roads can't be made bigger because of the inhabitants. But still, it preserves its spiritual culture. That is something which nobody can take away. Even after 2000 years, it will be the same. And that is what it fascinates us. So, I mean, it might become one of the best metros, but what we care as individuals who studied there and cared for is those uh, times that we spend in the university, which is still so beautiful. Yes, many buildings have come, some flats have started, but still it is a beautiful place. And the ghats and the legacy of Banaras, the Vishwanath Mandir and all those other places, the boat ride or the Ganga Aarti or even the Kashi Chaat Bhandar, those things will remain. Yeah, infrastructure will develop, and that is how the world is accessing Varanasi. But what I believe it is coexistence of development and your old laid back attitude where you just sit hours together in the ghats.
Thank you, sir.
Right, sir.
Bhagavad
And sir,
Gita. Please.
one of the question from this is, you have been in Pune, you have seen so many of students and all in your this time of career as well. So do you think that is it like something that used to many guest lecturers said Banaras restricts you in terms of your growth? Is it true, or is it like a persona that okay, Banaras is something like a time which flows, so let it be flow and then make yourself adjustable to it? What's your takes on that, sir?
So there are 2 points of view. One is from a student's point of view, and one is from a hiring point of view, the corporate point of view. So from a student's point of view, yes, we had to work extra hard because the corporate prefer connections which are easier, maybe a direct flight or easy access after the land. But from a student's point of view, although it is little more extra hours of work or maybe extra hard, but what it gives is that calmness when somebody studies away from the hustle bustle of the city life, say in a Pune or a Mumbai. Yes, maybe the career is more fast and you get aware about all the modern things, technologies, but city like Banaras has its own charm. It gives those values which probably a city would not give: peacefulness, calmness, connections, going out with people and having lassi or chai. Those do have a lot of weightage when you come to the corporate. Because one of the things which city life does not teach you is how to develop a connection. And connection, whether it is people or social or even personal, is something that only small town teaches. Because we have all moved from a joint family to nuclear family. So those learnings, those care are not there from the elders anymore. So enjoy your stay as long as you are, because I'm sure you're going to miss when you pass out and foray in your corporate journey.
Uh, so Bhagavad Gita in its second mandal 47th shlok says karmanye vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachanan ma karma phal hetu subhurma te sangotsa sattva karmani. It basically says you have the right to action, not to the fruits. Don't be driven by the results and don't get attached to an action. In your lives of struggles so far and the impeccable journey that you've had, any particular early setbacks or that has shaped your temperament, something that still guides your decision, something that sort of restricts you, that okay, let's slow down and think more on this, something that has become like a central pillar to your very line of thinking. Is there anything, what's your take on it, so is there anything like particular?
So there are many such moments which I faced, overcame, and moved forward. Only thing which was common was a ray of positive hope. The first instance I remember was we were all preparing for IIT and also Bihar engineering entrance. And I will talk about the BIT, which was at that time Bihar Jharkhand Common, Bihar entrance examination for engineering. And at that time, there was an intent from the regulators or from the government was to give 30 marks extra to the girls because of course they wanted to increase their participation. So in a general scenario, it was okay. So the first uh, exam was announced in Patna. We all went, and somehow the paper got cancelled because it was already leaked. Somebody might have stolen, whatever happened. Then the second time it got cancelled. And by the third time, I remember the exam was this time in Dhanbad itself. The examiner set the paper so hard that it was even tougher than an IIT. So normally when people would get say around 250, 260 out of 300, I got 145, right? Which happened to be 0.5 mark less than the cutoff. Normally I would have got 250, 260. And even if a girl gets a 220, 230, still I'll qualify. But when the margin of error is less, 30 became like so too much. So I remember all the girls from my school got that 30 marks. Say, even if somebody got 117 plus 30 becomes more than 146, which was the cutoff. I have nothing against the policy, but sometimes there are things which are not in your control. And I remember I received a letter from Muzaffarpur that you can come down and we can guarantee your admission. Of course, they were expecting some kind of donation, which I said no, because I don't believe in shortcuts. And maybe life has something better for me. So if I reflect today, had I gone there and did my 4 years of engineering, I would still need to do something to search job. And that resulted me to Banaras, which I still believe was a better outcome for me. So this was number one. In my career, when I was working in the first company, I have not written that in a CV. It was a 7-day job. I didn't even take my salary. So I was hired from Delhi, and there was a company which asked me to sell CD-ROMs. At that time, there were those round objects where you could play video games and all, and they were in the sales of that. And at least I said, learn something. And then one day I learned that the boss, there were only two people who were the partners and everybody was an employee, asked me that, can you go to one of the companies, JK Tires, and see what their problem is? And it was my day 2 of joining. I didn't know anything about what the problem is. And I asked him what I'm supposed to do there. The boss said, see, they have some software issue in their computer and you just go and attend. I said, I don't know. That is not my job because I'm not a service engineer. My job is to sell. He said, don't worry, jaake bas apna chehra dikha ke aa jana. That was his words. I said, okay. I took a huge risk, went there. And then the supervisor took me to a computer room where there were a series of computers. And then they said that nobody is coming. We have been shouting. Now you have come. Kindly check what is the problem. See, I have learned computer. I know about the operating of computer, but I don't know about the hardware and the software. So all I could do was switch on and switch off 3-4 times. And he gazed that I'm wasting time. He said, what are you doing? Then I could not tell him a lie. I said, sir, I have come here because my boss told, jaake chehra dikha ke aa jana. I have no knowledge in computer. And that was my last day, of course. And I left the company without even drawing salary for 7 days because I believe that authenticity is something that I value and something that I am not able to do. I would say, no, why should I go and spend time? That's internally I didn't feel good. So I resigned and then I joined Boardrooms. So these were some of the incidents, and there are so many in the corporate where every day you face a challenge. But the moral of what I'm saying is always believe that we can still do best with what we have because things will not be in your control always. So rather than cribbing about things that are not in control, say for example, we are in the business of seeds. And many a times, weather is a big derailer in some of our aspirations. And I can't make an excuse that it was high rainfall or no rainfall or high heat, because those end of the day will happen anyways. Because the new normal is that weather is uncertain, it is erratic. So, what can we do to mitigate, to maximize within what we have? So, that's something that I still believe works in most of the difficult situations.
The ancients have said that wisdom is the one elixir which makes living long worth it, and it brings out the true joy of life in general that most are unable to perceive. And hearing your words, sir, it seems like a very powerful foundation. Now we would like to proceed to the next segment, which is the career journey as chapters. So this is only a brief one, and we shall walk through that journey. So Mr. Akash Srivastav, sir, will be taking over.
Yes, sir. The first question is to you, sir. What did your first job, as you said, which is you're not mentioned in your CV, but apart from this, in the Berger Paints or the your starting jobs, basically teaches you what your classroom never teaches you, never taught you, basically.
Yeah. So, Berger Paints was actually my foundation of my career. And some of the things I learned there is invaluable, which is irrespective of your competency or skill or knowledge, process is something that you can't overrule. So the basic processes of learning, as simple as if you have to dispatch a material, you need a permission, which is a form. In that case, it was for UP. Or for that matter, you have to be very patient. I was designated as technical sales officer, and my job was to visit the industrial concerns like the IOCs of the world, fertilizer plants, the railways, and all those big institutions. And either there was a tender method or there was a negotiation method where you pitch in with your offer and look at the requirements and accordingly give a price. And I remember there were days where I had to wait from morning till evening just to have a glimpse of the manager. So that was a part of the job. But more importantly, it taught me to be patient, because not everything you want will happen in a jiffy. Sometimes the meetings will be very productive, sometimes you will not even get a glimpse. So highs and lows were part of your day-to-day job, which probably in education, it's very consistent. Only you have an exam and then, of course, you know what you're doing. Because most of the things are in control. It's a controlled environment and there are teachers who help you. But in corporate, those level of support, shouldering is just not there. You suddenly discover that you have come in an ocean, and if you don't know how to swim, better learn, because nobody will teach you. So learning the hard way is something which is very evident, especially when you start your corporate journey, and that was no different for me when I was in Berger Paints.
Sir, the one question arises from the say you say that you're in a seed business. You're more working on the uncertainty basically, because what is going to happen you don't know. So as a strategic position, how you manage the leadership, how you manage the strategy, how you make your mind so much of that kind of thinking that anything which is even going to be uncertain, you're capable to make it completely okay with your team and still become the calm at the end of the day.
The most important thing is the difference between a good strategy and bad strategy is lack of understanding of the market. So we had the privilege of working in the McKinseys of the world or the PwCs of the world, because they are so-called the strategy organizations, right? But they fail most of the times, and they end up giving you the same input that you wanted just by making the slides better, because they have a lack of market understanding. I mean, this is my personal experience in terms of strategizing for, say, the seeds organization I'm talking about. I have nothing against them. So the most important thing is understanding the roots or your ground or the support that the team needs below, which can only happen when you are with them, you understand, or you have been in their shoes at some point of time in your career. And as you said, agriculture is full of uncertainty, volatility, and moreover, after COVID, it has become even more unpredictable because of a lot of things. The commercial prices have increased in terms of the production costs. Weather has become very, very unpredictable. Still, we have to achieve. And I'm proud that in the last 7 years, we have been able to demonstrate that, beating the Sensex, which means the Sensex grew at about 14% in the last 7-8 years. We have beaten that handsomely year after year. So the basic thing that I always say is motivation is glamorous, but discipline and consistency, though boring, wins the long game. So we focus on what can we do, which we call above the line behavior. So there are two kinds of behavior. One is called below the line, which is only about talking about, I don't have this, I don't have money, I don't have people, weather is bad, making excuses. Above the line is rising from your stature and doing something which is beyond yourself within the available resources. So one is discipline and consistency, understanding your customers the way they would understand you and vice versa. And then being close to the market. Most important is not about achieving or not achieving. It is about being transparent. There'll be years where you'll not be able to do. But what are you doing? Because at the end of the day, you have to manage a P&L. And there, apart from profits and revenue, cost is an important part. So that balance of when to say yes, when to say no is important. And that has to be very timely. And that has been our mantra all this while, whether it is this company or previous ones. So yes, strategy without meaningful execution, without understanding the knowledge that exists in the ground, without the market intelligence, probably does not work.
So,
Thank you, sir. So, one last before we move on to the next section, sir. Like going back over decades, if you could send a memo to your younger self, like a boy, Mr. Sudip, who's actually dreaming of the world and moving ahead in life, what would it say, sir, in one line?
That's a good question. So if I were to write a letter to my younger self, is this thing that always lead with your strengths. There will be so many people who will advise you to improve your weaknesses or overcome your shortcomings. And I would say with this analogy that imagine you are a rocket, like the space rocket, and you have to get launched in the orbit where you have to cross the Earth and move into the galaxy, for example. As we see, a rocket is only able to move. One is it has to have a certain velocity, which is speed and momentum, which we call escape velocity, 11.2 kilometer per second, if I remember. But the major thing is, as the rocket goes up, you might have seen a rocket has got 4 or 5 parts. The one which is the last one goes off, and then gradually, as it moves up, it has to be lighter. And what reaches to the space is only the one which is pointed, edgy, which has all the cameras and all the equipments, which is nothing but your strengths. So if you have to reach your orbit of success, you have to only go there with your strengths. If we try to do too much around everything, then we get derailed. So we have to go lighter, we have to let go things which are derailing us and move with strengths. And an example would be if Sachin Tendulkar wanted to be a professor, how many of us would have remembered him? So he played to his strength. So anybody who you see is famous today is not famous due to the weaknesses, but due to the strengths. So even you might be doing a odd job, small job, but do that with great honor, do that with all your heart, and one day you might be the best in that. So that's the philosophy I would have preached to my younger self.
Thank you, sir. That's a wonderful sentiment indeed. As we move to the next segment, which is the theme deep dive, Field to the Future. Here we shall discuss about the purpose-led commercial leadership in Indian agribusiness, pricing, channel transformation, and farmer-centric innovation. This section will be entirely generalistic and will go on the theoretical principles and the experience. Uh, as we have reiterated, we will not be mentioning any specific questions in regards to the company or its produce. So this section will be taken in three different sections: pricing, the hardest truth; channel transformation, the real battlefield; and farmer-centric innovation, not a slogan. We'll have Mr. Kshitij Verma taking over, sir. Sir Kshitij.
Yeah, very good morning, sir. So, sir, my first question is, what's a pricing mistake that leader repeatedly make in India?
There are many. So mistakes, one is, so there are many stakeholders. Pricing is not just a science, it's also an art. But coming to your question of mistakes, when we are not clear of what is the objective of the organization and is it somehow meeting the needs of our customer. For example, I might launch a product and price it with highest profit, but it may not succeed, not because it is high price, because the customer is not even aware about its value. So as we have learned, there are 4 elements of marketing mix. So price is the only element which captures the value, but the other 3 elements, which is your product, promotion, and place, are the ones which demonstrates the value, including communicating about your product, benefits about the product, what it means to the customer. And most often we don't do the 3 things correctly, and so price becomes the one which we call faulty or guilty. So yeah, there are so many examples.
Okay, sir. Sir, my next question is, can you state any one example where a pricing decision looks very risky in short term, but actually it was very beneficial in the longer run?
Yes. So we have a recent example from our organization. We had launched a product. I would not name the product. And it was a very unpopular decision from many, including company employees. And we had priced it around 20% higher than the market. And it was not by instinct. As I say, that pricing has 2 components. One is the scientific one, which most of the people talk about, but there is one more important, which is the art of pricing. So the science includes things like data, objectives, methodology, your cost of goods, brand equity, it could be market strategy, and so on and so forth, the analytical side of it, the objective part of it. But there is one thing which many marketers miss out, which is the art of pricing, which is intuition, your judgment, psychology of the consumer, the culture, the emotional value, what it means to them. So these are some of the things which needs to have a balance. And in this case, we understood that this is a product which is going to be a game changer for the farmers. Yes, there might be objections for the channel partners, even our employees, because it was giving 20% higher returns than the nearest competitor. What it means is a farmer would benefit at least 20 to 30% more. In fact, it will be higher looking at the overall ROI. So, for example, if a current product is giving a farmer, say, 40,000 rupees as an income, this product will give around 55,000 rupees. So, what is the additional money? 15,000. So, I am charging only 20% of that additional 15,000. Still, the farmer is getting 12,000 more. So, we have to bring these equations to the table. Yes, it might look high, but end of the day, if a farmer is getting 1 acre, 12,000 rupees additional income, and if it's a big farmer, it is 60,000 rupees, which is not a joke. So that's how, based on intuition, judgment, and emotional need, where the positioning was something which was very different. We did not put that as a functional position, it was emotional. Like a father is keeping a girl child on his shoulder and looking at the sky, chulo asman. So aspire for high, go for that glory. And that can only happen where your kid can probably study in the most brilliant school or have a great career future when you start giving her that facility, which can only come when you have additional income. And that was a blockbuster. And it turned out to be the biggest hit of the year. And we became the market leaders. So yes, it was bold, but it was backed by a lot of science, a lot of art.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for answering these questions. Over to you, Sasi.
Hello, sir. Good morning. So, as you said before, that around 17% of the GDP of India is contributed by agriculture, but still, like 40 to 45% of the total population is involved in agriculture. So, most of them are small and marginal farmers. So, I just said that pricing is different from for different categories of farmers and crops. So, how do you address the price sensitivity among small and marginal farmers without actually compromising on the innovation that you offer in the products?
So that's very important and a good question. So pricing, one of the objectives is to address the masses, right? The majority of farmers in India are small landholders with an average farm size of less than a hectare. And irrigation is still not there in all the areas. So roughly about 55% of the country is still dependent on the monsoon rains. And there it is a lot of unpredictability in terms of the arrival of monsoon and the frequency and the timing. There are a lot of variables. And there we have learned that farmers do not take a lot of risk. Even if they might have money, they will go for something which is more adaptable, which is more stress tolerant, drought tolerant, and all those things. So we do have segments which are there to cater for those sects of this customer segment who are price sensitive but still want higher value. Like an insurance, come what may, I'll get at least a basic plus extra 10 to 20% yield than the next best alternative. Because here, customers have a lot of choices. So the pricing is always based on what is the next best alternative. If I am the seller, which is my next best? It could be my own product or it could be competition. So my offer has to be basis the pocket basis the convenience, basis the offering, and a lot of other things. So there are a set of products which are specifically designed to offer those farmers who want insurance rather than luxury, for example. So we do have that. And that's how we price by segment, by customer segment, by product segment, and so on and so forth. So we have a very robust scientific model which helps us to give a lot of alternatives.
So there's one more question. So in the distribution side of the things, so how has the distribution changed in India from the dealer dynamics, the rural credit and digital influence that we have seen in the current society? So how would you say that that system has changed, especially in agriculture?
See, it has changed a lot. Earlier, I remember when I started early, distributor used to be the king, right? Which means that you would negotiate even for a 25 paise, right? I remember an instance in Jharkhand. I was in Ranchi. It was a deputation. It was not my territory. And there was a distributor who was selling a product which was in fact, a chemical to kill weeds, the unwanted plants. And the price was MRP that time was it was a small pack, 101 rupees 25 paise. That was the MRP, right? For a 250 ml. And the distributor said, you have to pay this one, 101.25. And the farmer said, give me some discount. And the distributor very proudly was saying, okay, I'll leave this 25 paise. You can pay me 101 rupees. That was then. But now the game has totally shifted. Retailers have become the king. Because a survey was conducted many years back, which said that the farmer do not prefer to travel more than 5 kilometers from his house to purchase a product, which means essentially he is not traveling to the districts. He is happy or she is happy buying from the local village or the nearby village. So the distribution is now not dependent on the distributors. It is now the retailers who make them buy influence. So two most influential person in the life of a farmer or agriculture is the local village retailer and the fellow farmer, because they give a lot of credit, they give a lot of advisories. They are the ones who connect them to company employees. And the fellow farmer, because trust is the most important thing for a farmer. And this is again a psychology. I will also use some of that. Who do you trust the most? I'm asking a question.
So someone I know for a long time.
Someone you know for a long time. And why do you trust that person?
So I had long time to observe their behavior and to know more about them. So that's why.
Yes. So trust is a very simple, but the most complex concept in psychology. So it is made of 4 pillars. The first is called acceptance. And this is not in any random order. Second is openness. The third is reliability. And the fourth is congruence. Everybody behaves that way. Only thing I'm trying to decode it. So first, openness means the person who I am trusting or vice versa is open to listen to me, is open to understand my problems, for feedback, and so on and so forth. Second is acceptance. If you accept me the way I am, then I'm your best friend, right? What happens in friendship? Two people might be very, very different, but they are still best friends. So that also happens with trust, that everybody wants acceptance. And that is at my own condition, at my own abilities, not at your condition. So that is part 2, or the second element. Third is reliability, what we call say do. If you have said, please do. So if I, as a company, if I have as a organizer or a supplier have promised something, I better deliver it. Otherwise, next time you will not trust me. So that is my reliability. How often do I make your promises fulfilled? And the fourth is congruence, walking the talk. The belief, the thought process, the actions have to all get aligned. So similarly, for a farmer or for anybody that matter, trust is governed by these principles. So we have realized that the person who is there day in and day out, the retailer or the fellow farmer, are very important. So they are the ones who can help you in extending your reach to sell your product. So that's how it has happened. And apart from that, parallel distribution has also started, like many corporates have started distributing by becoming a partner of some company. Then we see a lot of penetration of e-commerce. E-commerce is something where farmers are getting direct transfer of goods to their homes. So that is something which is picking up, still not so much. And then there are assorted malls like agri malls or shops where you get everything there, which is direct sales to farmers. So these are the models which are getting evolved over the time, and we'll see many such more in the future. But the dynamics is going to change so much in the next maybe 30, 40 years.
Thank you, sir. So you mentioned that the farmers prefer a distribution center that are not more than 5 kilometers from their home. So is there a shift from the distribution channel reach, actually distribution channel depth toward distribution channel reach, or both are growing at the same time?
See, for a company, both are important depending on what is your objective. If we want to penetrate into a new segment or a new market, reach is important, which is going to a new area and showcasing your product and technology, and then accepting or getting the acceptance from the farmers or the community. So that is approach where reach is important, and you decide that basis your product fitment, basis your competitiveness, basis your offer, and so many things. Depth is more important when you already have a presence, but the quality of the people who are selling is something that you are worried about. So you want the best people to sell your product. It is not the number or the reach anymore. So sometimes it's a combination. So especially in new markets, it's always the reach. But in a growing market, in a established market where the market is very competitive, you want a mix of depth and reach both. You start with reach, but then your focus shifts to more market shares, more qualitative business, then you focus on depth.
Thank you, sir. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Very good morning, sir. Vashish this side. So, continuing the conversation with what you said, new market and established market. So, as you already mentioned, that agriculture is full of uncertainties and volatility, and commercial costs are uncertain, and weather is also unpredictable. So, keeping that in mind, what do you think? Innovation must be adopted, not merely introduced. How do we ensure that this happens?
Can you come again with the question?
So my question was, innovation must be adopted, not merely introduced. So how do we ensure that this happens?
Yes, that's a very good question. I'll start with the example of smartphones, or even our digital payments, the UPIs. India is the biggest, all of us know, in terms of UPI transactions in the world, or even with smartphone penetration. Way back, around 20 years back, we used to wonder if we can send a text message to farmer. What is the penetration? Probably they will not read. And today, every household has at least one smartphone. I'm not talking about those Nokias of the world, 3110s. They have a smartphone, and the most actively used application is WhatsApp.
Yes.
Followed by maybe a Facebook or a YouTube or so on and so forth. So the adoption happened when the farmers saw a value, or for that matter, the consumers of rural India saw a value, which is connecting with somebody who is far away, doing those video calls, or maybe getting access to something for which you have to travel, say for example movies, or those TV or OTT. Everything is available at the click of a button, even your payments. So a long time back, somebody says that we require three things when we go out of our home: purse, a phone, and a wallet. Now everything is there combined into one. Even a computer is now in your phone. So adoption happens when there is a win-win situation, both for the innovator or the maker of that innovative technology, and also for the user. In agriculture, we are seeing a lot of these changes as well, like the uncertainty of the weather. So there is a lot of effort going on from other companies in terms of providing that real-time weather conditions or suitable timing for sowing or harvesting, or even spraying your insecticides and pesticides. So weather reports, advisories, some of those mandi rates, which is the market where you which should sell your produce. So a lot of those things are happening, and now the new fad is AI, which is going to probably take over a lot of other technologies in the future. So yes, innovation is successful, or the adoption is successful, when there is a win-win for the consumer as well as for the provider, and maybe for the intermediaries also.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So you talked about the very important thing is trust is the most important for the farmer. So and you also said that a strategy without a meaningful execution or without the proper market knowledge is not fruitful. So keeping this in mind, I would ask you that how do farmer insights differ from farmer empathy while decision making? Because as you said, trust is more important. So the empathy factor comes into play. How does that affect the decision making of the farmer?
Empathy of the farmer with?
While purchasing the product, while interacting with the buyer, seller.
See, a farmer is a very scientific buyer. So let me reframe my answer. So a product does not give you market share alone. So there are three-pronged approach which we follow, and I have learned, by which you can offer any solution which covers all angles. The first is called market share, second is called mind share, and the third is called heart share. And all the three are very important. So market share is nothing but your product. But if product were the only thing, then the best product should have 100% market share. But in practicality, that doesn't happen. There is a limit to market share. So why market share stops? Because there are two other elements which are equally important, called the mind share and the heart share. Mind share is how are you occupying the minds of our customers. It could be your services, it could be your campaigns, it could be the brand equity that we have. Like when we talk about photocopy, we don't say photocopy, we say Xerox, while
Yes.
Xerox is the name of a company, right? So that is because our mind is replaced by that brand which has become so prominent. So these are mind share techniques where you try to use psychology, emotions, the way a farmer behaves, influencing all those techniques that you use for getting that mind share. And a third, which is not any lesser, is the heart share. How do you develop relationships through empathy, or it could be providing something which the farmer is not even anticipating, like insurance, health insurance for the farmer itself, because he is the provider. So you're securing not only his future, but maybe the kid's future, or associating with some programs in the village, participating in a marriage function. Your presence will bring so much of gratitude that the emotional decision will appear when there is a product purchase need. So you combine the three, product, which is the market share, heart share, and mind share, to give an unbeatable offering. And most of the times, you are on the winning side.
Got it, sir. Got it. So that was truly insightful. That
Thank
was my side. Thank you, sir.
Stepping in, sir. So as we move to the next two sections, these sections are quick and precise ones. They are driven based on the leadership potential of you in general. And we are asking the by heart questions. These are not framed to the depth of market. The next segment, sir, is leadership, culture, and change. It drives out and it makes an attempt to know how do you lead people. And through this section, we focus only to bring out the values and the philosophy that you have as a leader within your group. So, sir, as we begin, when you lead a commercial unit, what do you actually look for? What do you watch weekly? Numbers, morale, execution, or learning?
That's a great question. So over the years, I have realized one thing before I come to answer your question directly, that if you are to be successful, you can do everything with IQ, with your intelligence. But there are two areas where IQ fails, which is when you handle relationships and when there's a matter concerning your health or anybody's health. So health and relationships are two things where IQ can't solve. So there, the game of leading with emotional intelligence or empathy comes into foreplay. So the great leaders are those who give more weightage to EQ or EI rather than IQ alone. Because in a corporate setting, you always will have people. So your product might be the best, your promotion or brand might be the best, but if your people are the weakest, more often than not, you'll fail. So there, this dynamics of leading with emotions or empathy comes into picture. So that has been my learning, and that is something I still profess. Because when people are more powerful than you think they are, most of the times you'll get surprised positively. So learning, coming to your question, is very important because that allows one to experiment, do mistakes, and move on by carrying the learnings. Then growth happens when you apply those learnings with a bit of empowerment and lead projects which may not be the most impactful ones because you don't delegate the high impacts to start with. But you start to understand how each of the team member behave in certain situations, understand their strengths and leverage on their strengths. And in a team, there'll be diversity, right? Everybody will have a set of strengths, unique strengths. So you leverage them and create a collective unleash of those strengths. So imagine the power if all of you have one strength and I'm able to leverage, and if there are 50 people in the room, I have 51 strengths, right? Individually, I might have none. And so that is the power of compounding, people power. I call it people powerhouse. So that's very unique, where you can do wonders even when you have no clue. And a personal example, COVID happened in 2020. And we were about to commence our season. Nobody had a clue because I'm sure no one of us had any experience of this thing. And it was like a pure VUCA, right? Volatile, ambiguous, complex, right? And we had to still do our goals. And as a leader, here IQ fail because you don't have any intelligence about how to do it. So what do? So when the risks are high, when you do not know, bring everybody to the table. And that's what we did. And first time we, like in this call, a virtual call, we all came and we allowed everybody to express everything they had, the negative emotions, fears, whatever is worrying them. And gradually, there was one consensus. This situation is there for everyone. We are not alone. So what can we do differently, which can give us that competitive advantage? And people started talking very positive. I think we can, somebody said, be the first one to move in the market. We can influence the government because agriculture is an essential commodity. So allow us that freedom to operate, and so on and so forth. A lot of ideas came, and we just made sure that we executed those. And we were the first to reach the market. We were first to harvest the crop from our fields. We were first to reach the channel, and we had one of the best years in our history. So people have that power, which they themselves do not know. So if you all have learned Johari window, there's a fourth quadrant called unexplored self, which nobody's aware, not even me or you. That is something which comes when there is a very difficult situation, a crisis situation. And since we have been born with a lot of resilience because of the upbringing, because of the struggles that we have faced. So come time when this kind of situation arises, we all rise above our capacity. So that's the power, and simple way to lead is allow people to express, allow for mistakes, allow them to grow, allow them to learn, and then together you will do something which probably you have not even dreamt of.
Thank you, sir. One more question, sir. How do you handle a strong performer who damages the culture within your team and framework?
Feedback is the most important thing. And sometimes people are not courageous enough to take tough calls. So decisions, I call them, are of three types. One is decision which is based on time, which is a timely decision. If you have to do something today, do it. Second is efficient decisions, which will bring productivity or save money or increase your profits. And the third, which is the most difficult one, is called the tough decisions. And one of those decisions is, how do you handle a super duper performer who is damaging the morale? So, of course, everybody has the right to get a second chance. The first step is to get a feedback, give a feedback in a manner that is understood in terms of the impact, positive or negative, which is being created in the organization, in the team, the morale, how the other stakeholders are viewing it. So get a 360-degree view of other people. So give time, 6 months maybe, because that's good enough to improve. And if not, then let go. So that is a tough call. But everybody should get a chance to improve. And sometimes if we close our eyes and allow that to continue, there are other team members who might not be that capable, but they will not feel the need to stay, and you lose those people. So yes, you always have to take the right call, and it doesn't matter if you have a star performer, because the power of a leader should be to develop people at least who can lead in his or her absence. So you have no fear of losing out. But sometimes we don't do that. We spend more time in creating equity for us and forget the development of our people, and that's when the problem starts. You can't let go a star performer because he or she is doing most of your targets. So yes, that balance has to happen.
Thank you, sir. Now I want to step into the part that people don't ask often from the leaders, your inner leadership. Here we are trying to bridge together three different aspects: your coaching credentials, the Vipassana, or we can relate it to the well-being, and the marathon mentality. So as we proceed, sir, the first query would be that why did you pursue a professional coaching alongside your corporate leadership? Are you focusing today on the cultivation of the future generation, or you're just focusing on imparting your leadership, your wisdom to the generation at hand?
So it again stems from my upbringing, where kindness is a value that I learned and practice and still doing. That has been an integral part of my entire journey, because there is so much joy in giving that only the giver can understand and probably feel happy about it. So my purpose is to help people find success and meaning in their lives. I have seen how my parents have sacrificed their own aspirations to bring up me, what I'm today, and my sister. So it's a moral responsibility for me to give back to the society, because the society was kind. I had a lot of people who helped me become what I've become. So it was always there. It's only a matter of when I started exercising it. So in the corporate, maybe starting 2010, early part of that, I used to engage in a lot of training, voluntary training to my team members, to anybody who wanted a kind of learning, understanding. I used to write modules, go to sessions, lectures, and all that. But it was all prescriptive, which means that you are sharing your own learning. So in a general, what I'm saying is this has worked for me, so it might as well work for you. So any kind of training or mentoring is prescriptive, where you learn from the experiences of others. But my realization later was that your journey is your own journey, and you have to become what you want to become rather than imitating or probably trying to get inspired from somebody, which might work, but sometimes may not, because your strengths are unique. So coaching is a process where you don't need to be an expert. You can facilitate unearthing and excavating the values, beliefs, like we call the iceberg of an individual. So what we see in an iceberg is only the tip. What remains below the surface is actual human being. The values, beliefs, fears, the thoughts, the needs, the emotions, so many things. And if that are not brought to the surface, holistic development will not be there. So that is the power of coaching, where you don't provide any solution. You create that awareness in that individual or a group, and they themselves champion their own cause. So it's a very different approach. And that way you get the true power, because it's already there. It's all about igniting and moving away from that inertia. And you discover your own method, your own purpose, and just then there's no looking back. So that's where it started. And what I see is there is lack of help available, whether in the society or in the corporate. People do need help. That simple push that will make them stars. But people don't do it because, of course, it will take a lot of time, efforts. And why should I do it? Because there's nothing for me. So we have forgotten human values, very existence that we are called human beings, but we have become human doings. We are only doing things. We don't be what we are meant to be. So that has been my inner calling, and this is something that I do pro bono. I don't charge anything for it, and I do it for anybody who wants to be done, wants to take my service outside my work hours, and that's my passion currently.
Thank you, sir. Uh, like the Vedant and the Upanishads, they have explicitly stated that in order to know the truth, one must be in a state of balance with the through the practice of dhyana and vipassana. Now, sir, as a leader, meditation comes to a key sort of practice to in order to lay over the positive thoughts and to know which actions they have to do at what specified time. So, sir, how has meditation and well-being taught you about decision making under pressure, because within a company there is always situation of meeting targets, and another situation, the employees and the team and the leaders themselves face enormous amounts of stress. So how do you sort of balance it out, and how do you manage it?
That's a beautiful question. So the most difficult thing in any organization is to balance your emotions, because there is so much of rush, there is so much of pressure of succeeding or achieving, that most of us end up losing our cool, losing our emotions. So emotional regulation is a very big element of having a balanced leadership. So it starts with what are the hot buttons, right? Creating that awareness that what makes me angry, or what triggers my emotion so that I become sad or anxious, or I start worrying. First of all, everything starts with myself. If I understand myself well, then I can manage myself better. Once I am able to understand and manage myself better, then I can understand others better and help them to manage better. So that's the process. So understanding our emotions, the values, the triggers, what can happen, what has happened, reflecting around that, and then creating some rituals around emotional balance in terms of meditation is one, expressing gratitude is another, smile is another. Breathing is a very good technique in any kind of stress situation. If we do square breathing, like 4 inhales, 4 seconds of hold, again exhale and hold, like 4 4 4 4, or box breathing, or there are many techniques of breathing which shifts the focus from the situation to the breath or to our internal organs, and it sort of cools us down. So it's very important for leadership, or for that matter any person or in any role, is to be balanced in terms of stress, because that comes without you even asking for it. It's a cutthroat competition. It's not a charitable organization. So you have to survive under all calamities, under all situations. So this is very important part of being grounded, being grateful for what we have, thanking people who make our day every day, including people at home, friends and colleagues, and then just be yourself. One of the things that I've realized is uh, we bring our persona. Persona is the mask that we carry to the people. We don't bring our real self. We hide behind our shadow. So a true personality is where we be our truest, genuine self in front of everybody. So I don't have to be different at home versus in office or in a situation where there are a societal gathering. So that is not easy, because people are guided by perceptions. They would get judged. But if I do what I do good every day, I don't have to worry about it. So this is another aspect of being authentic, staying grounded, and just take it as it comes.
Thank you, sir. That was a wonderful insight, sir. So we're a little low on time, and we have the audience Q&A with the seat to speed the rapid fire segment. So before we move on, sir, I'll quickly ask one more question. You mentioned you said about the marathoner mindset in your various speeches and all. So where does the endurance show up in business, especially in the slower and the seasonal cycles?
Yes, so agriculture economy has slowed down globally in the last few years because of a lot of economical changes, technological changes, and behavioral changes. So endurance is very important, because when we are not in a balanced state of mind, we end up making the worst decision of our life. So there are three situations. One is called, say, emotional state on the negative side. One is the happy state, and one is the balanced state. Any decision which is under emotion, under anger, is the worst decision that we will always regret in life. When we are happy, we'll make a decision, but we'll give away too much. So be wary of that. But when we are in a very calm and cool situation, balanced situation, we take the best decision. So first of all, we have to understand that probably this is the new normal. The world is not going to be the same again after COVID, after the pandemic, or after this economical crisis. So what can we do differently to make sure that we don't spread out so much that later on we have to cut down? So the sizing is important, the scoping is important, and then make sure that you stay ahead of others in terms of whatever you can do so that you are relevant. The moment you stop being relevant, then somebody else takes over.
Thank you, sir. So we move to the audience Q&A. There have been so many questions, but it has become impossible to take every of them. But two questions have been very relevant and have come up quite often. So first question is from Mr. Nitesh Verma. He's a student of Institute of Management Studies, Banaras University, studying agribusiness in second year. So his question is, what advice would you give to a young professional or MBA student aspiring to build a career in agribusiness in terms of skill, the right mindset, and focus areas for the coming years?
Yes. So there is no one right answer for this, but I'll make an attempt. If one wants to aspire in the field of agribusiness, first of all is this is now an exciting field. Earlier, when I joined, agriculture was not something which was talked about in great detail. But this is an industry which is going to be there forever. Two industries, one is the food and the other is the health, will always be there. So this is a more sustainable kind of industry. So exciting times ahead, because we are also becoming very professional, innovative kind of industry. Skills, yeah, I mean, there is not something that I usually want to talk about, but one is authenticity is something that we look out for. Do not try to project somebody you are not, because the interviewers are smart enough to get that. So be yourself. If you are somebody, show that part of yourself. Be very focused and disciplined, because there are so many distractions in our life which make us do everything, become multitasker. So focus and discipline are very important to crack the code, as I call it. And the third thing is always try to manage your energy, not your time. Time management is the biggest myth. You can never manage time, because time was never yours. What we think time management is a sum of your boss's time, your peers' time, your family's time, your subordinates' time, and there are systems time, and so many and so forth. So end of the day, you will never be able to manage time. So instead, manage your energy, which is manage your physical energy in a manner that you are able to sleep well, exercise in the morning, and have a good diet throughout the day. So manage your physical energy, manage your emotions, manage your mental energy, which is by staying focused and having concentration. And spiritual may or may not happen now, but managing energy is something that will take you to the farthest corner of your career.
So, last question of the audience Q&A. So, this question is from Mr. Kashish Singh. He's a student at IMT Ghaziabad, pursuing his MBA first year. So, as he states that as MBA students, we often struggle to balance academics, networking, and skill building, with so many events happening simultaneously within the college framework, and the constant stress of having internship and future placement opportunities. How can we prioritize these effectively without compromising the depth in any area?
Focus on something that will create the highest impact. As I said, too many things will make you probably good at few, not so good at some. So understand where your core strength lies. If you are good in networking, build that as a skill. If you think knowledge is your forte, build that. If you think that you have to do a bit of everything, then focus on practical application of learning. So whatever you're learning, where are you going to apply that? Most of the concepts that we learn may not be applicable in the corporate universe. So pick up one or two things and get somebody who is a mentor or already working their brains in terms of what is the new reality, what is working, what is not working. And then basis that, customize your goals, where you are good at, where you can give a lot of focus, which will make you sharper.
Thank you, sir. So our next segment is a rapid fire question segment. We call it Seed to Speed. So these are fast, fun, insightful questions, and you may answer them with whatever comes to your mind first. They are quick responses. So, sir, shall we begin?
Sure.
So, one habit that makes you effective.
My discipline.
One leadership myth you disagree with.
Most intelligent people always win.
A never compromise principle in business.
Ethics.
Best decision you made in your 30s.
I applied to join DuPont, Pioneer.
Toughest market truth about rural India.
Nobody gives an inch. You have to fight for everything.
So, in terms of pricing, would you call it an art or a science?
It's a combination, but these days it's more art than science because everybody knows the science, but few know the art.
A book you gift often or recommend.
Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl.
A mental lesson you still repeat.
Be grateful with what you have and don't crave for things that you don't have.
One skill young manager must build in 2026.
Relationships.
So, a mistake you're grateful for.
I did not join engineering.
Morning routine, strict or fluid.
Depends. So if I have to travel, it is fluid, but generally if I am in my town, it's very strict. I go to the gym or hit the road every day.
So, your definition of success in one line.
Don't chase success. Do what you are good at doing and it will come you anyways.
So, kindness in leadership, strength or strategy.
Both.
So, pick your poison. 8 a.m. Monday call or 11:59 p.m. Please do needful.
11:59, you are saying night?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, always mornings are preferred. 8:10 morning,
Sir.
Monday.
Okay. So, if farmers could rate products like Swiggy or Zomato, what would be the most savage review you fear?
Price kam kariye, reduce the price.
So, one desi jugaad innovation you actually respect and one you politely hate.
The way we make room for everybody in a jeep or a vehicle, we accommodate more than that. Hate is when people take shortcuts just to make a point or achieve their goals.
So one KPI you wish existed but doesn't. Trust generated, dealer happiness, or nonsense avoided.
Trust as a KPI is something that I wish that everybody followed.
So if Indian agribusiness had a WhatsApp group name, what would it be? What would it be, and what would you name it?
World beaters.
So if one corporate phrase you'd ban forever, no,
I would.
you would ban forever, like you would restrict that from ever coming.
Corporate phase or phrase.
Phrase, sir.
Psycho fancy. People try to project the way they are. So mostly it's around judgment.
So if you had to explain pricing to a 10-year-old child using only a vegetable, which one and why?
I would use the example of seedless watermelon, because you are paying for the pulp, not for the seeds.
Thank you, sir. So choose your fighter, Monday morning review call or urgent mail.
Monday morning.
Which is tougher, monsoon forecasting or forecasting the next urgent mail coming from client?
Monsoon forecasting always difficult, but we'll find a way.
So if pricing had a nickname in India, what would it be? Dil ka Mamla, Math ka Jhamela, or Trust ka Test?
It's more about trust ka test.
Thank you, sir. As this concludes our rapid fire segment. Thank you so much, sir, for joining with us. It was an absolute pleasure and honor to have us with you today. And it was so insightful that we learned so many lessons that most students, perhaps going through our textbooks, we have never been able to encounter. And so it is your generosity, I would say, that you helped us along the way and you have guided us. And in short, I would say that I'm feeling so excited and so enormously happy about this session that since you're busy and everything, but I usually wanted to have something like this, for almost a year now. So thank you so much, sir.